Welcome to the Catalog First Steps, how to submit the Baseline Services Plus File training module of the Fast Catalog Platform, or FCP. In this module, we will discuss how to populate the Baseline Services Plus File, how to upload and submit the Services Plus file to eMod, how to submit the eMod modification, how to populate the Baseline Services Plus file. Vendors need to begin by downloading the blank Services Plus file template from either the FCP Help Resources page, blank template section, or the Baseline Services Action page, blank template section. Open the Services Plus file template in Microsoft Excel. In the Pricing tab, manually populate the Services Plus offerings and prices currently awarded under your MAS contract. Reference your last awarded price proposal template for those details. During the baseline process, vendors cannot add Services Plus offerings that have not been already awarded on the contract, cannot change the price including IFF field. The information submitted shall be reflective of the prices currently awarded on the contract to the maximum extent possible within the Services Plus file's constraints. Any differences should be communicated to the CSCO in the baseline cover letter and via the FCP comments section. The SPF restricts discount fields to 4 decimal places. If pricing on the PPT was calculated using a discount longer than 4 decimal places, then vendors may experience a validation error when submitting an FCP due to FCP expecting a slightly different value. If this happens, you should let your CSCO know that you will need to make adjustments to pass validations. Vendors should consult their last awarded price proposal template to determine the rounded 4 decimal discount. Then, determine any necessary pricing adjustments to the commercial price or the GSA price excluding IFF to reflect the rounded discount. This will ensure your SPF will pass validations. Vendors may manually adjust out-year pricing to match the last awarded price proposal template. Out-year pricing is what publishes to the price list in GSA Advantage, eLibrary, and eBuy. If the out-year pricing does not match the FCP expected value using the FCP formula shown here, then this will result in an error report with an error type warning. Warnings are informational, and the vendor can accept a warning and submit as is to the CSCO for review. If the commercial price or GSA price without IFF was adjusted, you must note this in your submission so that your CSCO is aware. Document this in your baseline cover letter and in the FCP comments section. The following resources will assist with populating the Services Plus file. Review the Services Plus File README tab for a description of each field, character limits, and which fields are either required, optional, conditional, or not accepted for each catalog item type. If a field is marked as not accepted for a catalog item type, then leave the field empty in the Pricing tab. We've also added 2 resources to the Help Resources site in the Lookup and Reference section in the right sidebar. The first is a resource called Crosswalking the Services PPT to the Services Plus file. On the FCP Help Resources page, download and view the Crosswalking the Services PPT to the Services Plus file. This document provides a detailed mapping of the fields in the Services Plus file and which fields from the Services PPTs they replace. The following fields are new or are changed in the Services Plus file. Unique Catalog Item ID or UCID, which is required for every line item. The UCID will be the main identifier when using the sales reporting portal, linking the catalog to reported sales, and when sorting the catalog in the SPF and the price list. The UCID is sorted as text in the published price list, so consider the following tips when generating UCIDs for your Services Plus offerings. Create a unique alphanumeric code that is clear and descriptive of the item. Be deliberate when leading with numbers. If adding numbers, then include leading zeros so that the items group together in ascending order. For TD or participants, the UCID should align with the internal accounting system or reporting system to match the GSA price list labor name for accurate reporting in the sales reporting portal. The Predominant Worksite field has undergone a change in the Services Plus file. Both is no longer an available entry. Select the worksite where the majority of the work takes place. Selecting one answer does not prevent work taking place at another site. Vendors are only required to list the predominant work site. Vendors can choose to list the same service at 2 different locations by using separate line items and UCIDs for each worksite. The other resource is a Services Plus File Pricing Examples file. Download and review this file for complete pricing examples. How to upload and submit the Services Plus file to eMod. When ready, save the Services Plus file in Excel and upload to FCP. In the Upload Files section, either select and drag the Services Plus file for upload, or select the link to choose a file from folder, which opens a window that allows the user to select a file from their hard drive. Press the Upload button to upload the file to the action. If the file needs to be replaced, then remove the file and repeat the steps to upload a new file. Press the Send Files to eMod button to begin the automated validation process. See the Services Plus File Error Remediation and Warning Process training module for more information regarding the validation process. As validation checks are performed, the action status updates automatically. If a user role is not specified in the action status label, then this means no action is needed by the user and the system will automatically progress through its processing in the background. Once the Services Plus file passes validation, FCP automatically submits the file to eMod, as indicated by the Sending to eMod action status. Once the submission to eMod is complete, FCP notifies the authorized negotiators and the action status updates to requires vendor action. Vendor must submit to CSCO in eMod. No further action is needed by the vendor in FCP at this time. How to submit the eMod modification. Navigate to eMod and to the modification linked to this FCP action. Press the Edit Mod button to open this modification for review and submission. In the Upload Documents section, the FCP Services Plus file submitted by the vendor displays in the Price Proposal template row. During the file submission process to eMod, FCP automatically performs the following. Renames the file to a standard naming convention. Adds the following new calculated fields to the Pricing tab. Discount offered to GSA off MFC price, and difference between GSA discount and MFC discount, which displays for only non-TDR vendors. If warnings were submitted, then a Validation Warnings tab displays in the SPF for the CSCO to review. If the Services Plus file is larger than 100 megabytes, then FCP splits the submission to multiple files to be within the 100 megabyte eMod file size limit. The vendor uploads a cover letter and edits the modification as needed in eMod. When ready, submit the modification to the CSCO. Once the vendor submits the modification, navigate back to the action in FCP to see that the status is now pending CSCO review. For next steps, please see the Publish the Baseline Services Action training module.